Today is we're going to have a demo on this API. It's called the Star Wars API. All right. Can anyone tell me what an API is? What does that stand for?
Application Programming Interface.
Good. What does that mean? What? A little louder.
Interface for applications and programs.
I see. He just kind of like moves some of the words around. That's cool. So yeah, there's some different definitions out there, but basically what I would say is that it is a contract between two sides. So it's kind of like we've set up this situation where we're going to build you something that you can work with, and these are the rules by which you need to work with it. So if you think about it, most everything that we use on an everyday basis has some kind of an API, right? If I'm plugging something into a wall socket, that has an API. I'm expecting that if I put whatever I'm plugging into those holes, that I'm going to get some power out of it, right? And I don't need to worry about all the implementation that's happening under the hood there. I don't need to worry about how is the electricity getting to me. I just need to plug it in and I'm done. Same thing when we drive cars, right? Most of us are not mechanics, and we haven't the foggiest idea of how all this stuff works at a lower level. But we know that if we turn the steering wheel, we're going to be able to turn in the car. Or if we press on the brakes, right, we're expecting it to slow down, hopefully. All right, so basically, when we're talking about APIs, we're talking about this contract between the way that something is supposed to work and the way that we're interacting with it, okay? Even CSS has an API. So the way that we use selectors, rules and properties, all of that stuff is in the CSS API. Okay? So most of the time when we're talking about web development, the APIs that we're going to be working with are such that we can make calls to some service somewhere on the internet and potentially get back some information. Or we may be making calls to make changes to something in a database. All right. So today, as I said, we're going to be working with the Star Wars API, and I've got the documentation page pulled up here. So it's just swapi.co. And here, you can see down here, we have an ability to just test out the API. So I can make some easy calls here. So we have some different endpoints. These, excuse me, these are the ones that we have. So we've got people, planets, and starships. So today what we're going to be working with is just the people endpoint. Excuse me. All right, so let's make a test call here. We'll make a call to people/1. And then we'll kind of wait a second here to get a result. You can see that we got back Luke Skywalker. Let's change it to people/5. Okay. See, it actually changed to Leia Organa. Cool. And then we have some details about Leia. So that's kind of nice. All right. So what we're going to do, though, is we're going to create our own little web page where we're making some calls to this API, and we're going to have a button where we can click that button and we'll just pick, say, a random number. I happen to know that there are 88 different people in this API. So we'll pick a random number between 1 and 88, just go retrieve that person's information, and then we'll display some of it on the page. All right? Cool, so let's get a basic HTML page going here. Let's go here. Alright, let me save this guy. Oh shoot, where am I? Documents. Doja stacks. Mean. Okay, so we'll just make this Star Wars.html. Okay, drop in some boilerplate there. Today we're going to do these requests using jQuery, which we don't have to use, and I'll probably show you guys how to do it without jQuery maybe in a couple days or so. But so if we want to use jQuery on our page, you can just look up jQuery hosted libraries. Oops. And then the first result here is just the Google hosted libraries, jQuery. I'll just grab this snippet right here, drop that in our page. Okay. Now the next thing that we want to do is we want to have a button here that we're going to be able to click, and like I said, that will then select a random number between 1 and 88 to go find someone from the Star Wars API. Alright, so let's create a little button, and I'll just say click me, an exclamation point. Okay, and now I'm going to create a little script tag down here. This is where we'll do the bulk of our work. So down here, we're gonna actually respond to this button click. All right, can anyone tell me what I need to do if I'm going to use jQuery here? Does anyone remember jQuery? $, yeah. Okay, good. So I'm hearing some different things. So $, and then inside there we'll pass the document, right? .ready, and then what do we pass to the ready method? A function, right? Cool. So I can just say function. So inside this, what I want to do is I want to attach a click handler to this button right here. So in order to do that, I'm going to give the button some kind of an ID. All right, so that we can single it out. So let's just say ID equals BTN. Okay. How can I select that button using jQuery? Hashtag button. Good. BTN. Okay. Yeah, so we can either do .click like that, or we could probably do .onClick. We'd probably accomplish the same thing, right? Okay. So when that happens, I'm going to have another callback function that does something. So here, let's just get some basic logic here. Let's find a number, a random number between 1 and 88. Okay? How do you guys think we could go about doing that? No, math.random is perfect. Yeah, we're going to use that, right? Okay. So math.random is going to give us a number between what and what? 0 and 1, but it's actually exclusive of 1, right? So it gives us everything possibly between 0 and 0.999, whatever. Okay. So how can we use that in order? So let's just say const random. We'll stick with the var for now. We'll just say var rand equals. So if I go math.random. Again, that's going to give me between 0 and 0.9999. How can I get between 1 and 88?
Times 89. It'll be 89. And then modulo. With all the decimals.
So what if we actually use floor, math.floor, to round down to the next lower integer? And then we'll just add 1 to the whole thing. So if we do math.floor, oops. Actually, I guess this, is that right? Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, so at the end we're just adding 1. Right? Okay. So let's just console log these out and make sure that we're getting numbers that we like. So just console log rand. Alright, now let's open this guy up. So open. Oh shoot, documents. Stacks. Okay, Star Wars HTML, cool. So we've got this little click me button. Can you guys even see that up there?
Yeah.
Oh boy, that is absolutely tiny. Should we apply some CSS or something? Jeez, wow, yeah. Let's just go in here. We'll say button. And then font size, I'll make the font size really big. 2EM, border, 1 pix solid, or make it 2 pix. Solid black. Hey, that's a little better, huh? Alright, now we can see things. Alright, cool. So let's open up the console. So we're getting 70 here, 36, 12, 49, 84, 86. Oh, we got, okay. So it looks like we're getting what we want, right? Cool. Now what we want to do is use that random number and go ahead and make the call to the Star Wars API to get back that data. Sorry. Let's go to the jQuery docs here, and we'll see what we can use. So we've got this method $.get. Make sure I'm looking at the right thing here. Not get script. I think I need to look up jQuery.get. Okay, here we go. So jQuery.get. And you can see these are the arguments that this function is going to take. Okay, it's going to take in some URL that we want to get, that we want to make the request to, and then potentially it's going to take in some data that would be sent to the server. Now in this case we're just getting information, so we're not going to send anything to the API, right? And then the other thing that we can pass is a success function. So this is, what function do I want to run when I successfully get the data back from the API? Okay? Alright. What kinds of GET requests have we been making thus far with our Python stuff? We've generally been making post requests to those forms, right?
Yes, to go into different websites.
Yeah, a lot of times we'll just make a GET request by typing in some address in our URL bar and then just pulling up that page, right? The difference with this is that we're going to be making the GET request using JavaScript. Okay? So we're not actually going to go to the Star Wars API page. We're going to have JavaScript go and send out this request and then bring it back to us. Right? Pretty cool. So let's get the URL that we want to send this to. So on the in the documentation here, we've got this endpoint here. So I'm going to grab that. And then instead of, we'll leave our console log there for now. But so here what we're going to do is we're going to say $.get. That means that I'm making a GET request. And then the URL is going to look like this. And then I'm going to basically tack on the random number that we just calculated to the end. Okay. So we'll just do plus rand. And then the second argument that I'm going to pass to this is going to be the success callback function. So what do I want to have happen when that data comes back? All right. So for now, I'm just going to console log it. Let's just see what it is. All right. So I'll say console.log. Let's go back and reload our page. Okay. So notice how we logged the random number, and then sometime shortly thereafter, maybe half of a second or whatever, we got this secondary log here. So let's see what that has in it. So the first object is the actual data, and we have this character called Yariel Poof. Did I say that? Yariel Poof. That's a great name. Urail. Okay, cool. And then we got this second second thing back here, we'll talk about that in a second. So if we look over here at the documentation, it should be telling us what this is returning, right? So the success function they talk about here is going to take 3 different arguments. So it'll take the actual data that comes back, the status, so presumably that would be a success if we had successfully pulled the data, and the third thing is just a bunch of data about the actual API call that we just made. Okay, the XHR is more low level. It's something that you guys won't really have to worry about. So if we look at these response pieces here, where was our, see how we got success over here? I know it's kind of hard to see. So that was the second argument that came back. It's saying that your call was successful. The first one, of course, was the data. And then the third one, as I was saying, that you guys won't really need to do much with is the actual, what's called XHR request. Okay, it's just got a bunch of stuff here, abort, always, catch, a number of things here. Okay. So that's pretty nice. Does anyone have any questions about what we accomplished so far? I want to make sure this is all good. How do you guys feel about this?
Are we gonna try to like put it on the page itself now? Because then that's my next.
Good thinking. Yeah, good call. Yeah, absolutely. So I want to make sure though that just the part that we've done so far makes good sense to you guys. So if we go back to the code and look at it here, again, we're just waiting until the document's ready, right? And then inside there, we're attaching a click listener to the button that we put on the page. So when that button is clicked, I'm creating a random number, and then I'm using that random number to make this API call to the Star Wars API. All right? Cool. Thumbs. Let's have thumbs on this. Good? All right. Solid. Okay, so next what we're going to do, as Ivan said, is we're going to create a little spot on the page where we can actually output this data. Because it's all great that we can console log it, but the average user wouldn't even know to look there. Okay, so let's just create a div, and then we'll give it an ID of contents. Something like that. Okay, so what I want to do is I basically want to just create kind of a little HTML string. Maybe we'll have the name, and what else do we want to put in there? Eye color. What do you guys want to see on the page? Gender? Alright.
Mass.
Yeah.
How come the
Mass.
world didn't give you actual data and instead it gave you another thing?
I was wondering the same thing.
Wait, I'm sorry. How come it didn't give me what?
Like on Homeworld, instead of giving you the planet, it gives you another. Is that another call? Or
Yeah.
What?
I guess we'd have to call.
Oh, in films? You mean? Oh, Homeworld. Yeah, I gotcha. Right. So yeah, what it's saying is that you can then make a call to this endpoint to go get information about the Homeworld. Yeah, exactly.
How would we do that?
Same way we're doing this. We can make the same kind of API call. The only thing is, this is probably worth talking about here. So, where do I have access to this character's data? So in terms of my code here, do I have access to it, say, outside of these parentheses here?
No.
No, I don't. The only place I have access to the data right now is going to be inside this success function. Now, right now, I just put a console.log in there, but we're going to change it to an actual function. That's the place where we have access to this person's data.
Okay.
All right. Okay, cool. So let's create a new function inside here. Actually, I'm gonna create the function out here for a little bit better clarity. So we'll just call it success handler, something like that. My success handler is going to take in some data. All right. And then with that data, I'm going to just append some of it to my to that div that I created. Okay, so we'll do like name, and I think we were saying gender on that as well. Okay, so with the data, I'm going to create an HTML string. So we'll say var stir equals, and then I'll put a p tag in there to start it out. And then let's say name. And then after that, I'm just going to say data.name. That's what it is, right? Yeah. Yeah, so our data is just this big object, and it has a property in it called name. Okay. So that's what I want to put in there. And then after that, I'm just going to have an ending p tag.
The data, is it returned to you as a dictionary or a list, an object?
Yeah, so in JavaScript it's called an object. Exactly. So they're just giving us this big object with a bunch of data points about that specific person. All right, cool. So then what I want to do is I'm going to do stir plus equals. So that means that I'm going to tack on some more to this string. And then my second p tag will just be the gender. Plus minus. It's the new way of doing things. Alright, so gender. Yeah, okay, cool. So we'll say gender. And then we'll add data.gender. Oops, I meant to end this one. Alright, excellent. So now what do we want to do with this? We have this string that we've concatenated. We've kind of built it up. Now, how do I append it to that div that I have up there that's ready to go?
You gotta call the div.
Good. Yeah, so let's select a div, right? We'll do, since we're still in jQuery land here, we'll say $ and then hash contents. Okay. And then what's the method that we have to just append some HTML to that div? Append. Hey! I wasn't trying to trick you guys. Let's append stir, right? Okay, cool. So now I've got this success handler. Where do I need to put the success handler in order for this to all work?
The console.login.
Yeah, right down here. Yeah, exactly. So we'll make that the callback that we want to have happen. All right. Success handler. Okay, so let's refresh this guy again. Okay. Yeah, cool. So now we're actually getting, we should be able to press it again and again. Big Dark Lighter. That is an awesome name. Chewbacca, an old favorite. That's cool. Sly Moore. Nice. All right, cool. So let's run through this code real quick, line by line. I want to make sure you guys totally get it, and then we'll be off to the races. Jessica Yoon, you have the honor of, let's start up here, success handler. You can see that, right? Kind of. Do I need to?
With the light.
Yeah, it's a
I know, sorry about that. I know there's a glare over here too.
My hair is
Is that on
blocking your
the
view.
line.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's just a function to grab the data from the
Good. Okay, so let's be a little bit more technical here. So what are we doing?
So we create a function called success handler, and it takes the parameter data, and the data that we take is the name and gender from the actual call that we got from the server's API.
Okay, cool. So JavaScript, as it's reading this, does it even get inside this function? So like we're going line by line, right? We're reading line 21. Do we get inside this function? If we're looking at it in the way that JavaScript does. Who thinks yes? Two people?
Right there
That's
where
it?
the
Not
bracket.
that function's called.
Yeah.
Just the function.
Not until the function is actually called, right? So actually what's happening is we're just declaring this function and then it's basically storing that in memory and then we're moving on down the line, right?
It's there until
Till it needs to be invoked, right? And then we'll get inside it. Okay, great. Anthony, go ahead with line 28 here.
So is that part of the JavaScript that it won't activate until the document's ready, until it's loaded or rendered?
This looks like we're calling a function here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Uh,
So actually we are calling something right now.
so we're calling the ready function,
Okay?
and then we're putting a function inside of it.
So we're passing it in what's called a callback. Okay, cool. All right, excellent. And then, so let's talk about what's going on.
Could you describe that line?
Which
Pretty
line?
much the number 28.
Yeah,
Like
sure.
The dollar sign is jQuery,
Mhm.
and then it's document.
So document is something that JavaScript has access to. That just refers to the current page that we're on.
So
Okay.
it's a keyword.
Yeah, it is. So by putting the dollar sign in front of it, we're basically giving, we're saying we want jQuery to have access to it as well.
Okay.
Okay. So then when we call this ready function, it means that we want to wait until the page is actually ready for manipulation to run whatever the callback function is here. Okay. Good.
Why does the inside look like that? The function with close brackets and then the mustache.
So this right here is a callback function. Okay. I could have actually.
All of that is inside.
Yeah, exactly. So you see how I sort of moved success handler out here as its own thing?
Mm-hmm.
We could have done the same thing with the ready function as well.
Okay.
And sometimes it makes a little more sense to do it that way for clarity's sake because things start indenting more and more to the right and you end up with what's called callback hell. Okay? Yeah, so we kind of want to avoid that if we can. If things start getting too hectic inside, it's good to break functions out into their own space. Okay? So let's look at what's inside this document ready function. Anna, tell me what's going on inside here. So this function.
So within our document ready function, we're invoking another function that's saying when you click on the button, it's going to invoke this function in which you are establishing a random variable. You're going to floor that variable, so bring it down, round it down, and then you are going to print that number that you just.
Right. Okay, excellent. I think we did this wrong. Should this not be? Oh, never mind. All right. I keep second guessing it. All right.
Yeah, 'cause it'll never hit 88 technically, right?
So you're
Yeah.
saying
I know, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
Would it?
because if it's like up to 88, then
Yeah, it has
it'll
to be
round it
88.
down.
This should be 88.
I
All
thought
right.
The +1 was to make it 88.
Well,
It
doesn't
is,
always
but
It
if
always
it's
rounds down.
last there.
yeah.
Yeah, as it is, we
Right.
would never get to 88,
Or
so
if
this
it's
makes
like
it so that we
87,
could potentially get
put it
there.
on the floor,
Why don't we just do math.c?
so then you add one
Just-
to get the
We have to subtract.
Yeah.
Math.co. Yeah.
Well,
We made
Alright.
changes.
Yeah.
All right, don't worry about that. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this part, the $.get. I want to make sure that's pretty clear. Michael, tell me what's happening here with $.get.
That's saying take the URL link that's in the parentheses and at the end of it add the random number that you got so you get the info on that character that was in the API.
Okay. Good. So our final string is going to have all of this plus whatever that random number. And then what kind of request am I making?
Post.
Yeah.
It's a GET request?
A GET request. Yeah, exactly. Perfect. I'm making it through the browser, though. We're not just kind of typing in an address and going to that page. All right, good. And then the success handler callback, let's just talk about that real quick. I know we talked about the declaration of the function, so let's say that we're invoking that function right now. Miguel, what's happening on line 22?
Declaring a string with the tag name and then grabbing data from that GET request, which is the name of whatever object we got. Same thing for line 23, you're just adding that string to the variable string.
Okay. And then line 25. So we've got this concatenated string of HTML. Cool. What's happening on line 25?
Oh, didn't we have we have a div called contents, and now we're just adding those strings to be able to read them out on the page.
Exactly. So we're just appending this built-up HTML string to that div. Okay. Excellent. Let's have thumbs on this. Nice, yeah. Partay. All right, cool. If there are no final questions, I will dismiss you guys to your daily work. Oh, there's a question.
We have a document.ready function, and you said you want to avoid callback how?
Mhm. Yeah, so how would we do that? We could rip this out of here, right? So what if we take this function right here and we turn it into a named function? So if I go over here and I just say function onReady, we'll just call it like onReady. Now in here I can just pass onReady, right? Yeah, you see how things start to become a little bit more clear. Now we don't have as much nesting going on. So if I go back to this, it should work the exact same way. Podameron, yeah. So it's the exact same thing. We've just created a named function rather than putting that anonymous function right in there. Does that make sense, Michael?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can pass multiple functions in there. Into the document already.
I believe you can only pass one in there. Why would you want to pass in multiple?
Or if you have multiple functions that were doing things on the page. But I guess it's for.
Well, if you had multiple things going on, you could still create one function that was going to run inside there that just ran all of your multiple functions, right?
Are we going to be using jQuery a lot?
No.
No? Okay.
No, not at all.
What we're going to be doing.
But the reason why we were kind of touching on it is because you guys saw it in Web Fundamentals.
Yeah.
Just kind of like as a refresher, that's all.
Oh, is that what we have Node.js for? When we're going to be doing JS?
No. Node.js is going to be happening on the back end. So it won't be on the front end of the browser at all.
Okay.
Yes, Anthony.
So, and the function above, you have the parameter as data. So for success.
Up here? Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Where does data come from?
So
uh
So data is coming from the actual GET request that we made, right? And then because, let me go back to the jQuery docs here, you'll see what the success function is going to take in is going to be the data that came back from the API call, the status of that API call, and then again this XHR information that you guys don't really need to worry about. Okay. So notice how data was the very first parameter there.
So then,
So it's actually coming from the API response.
because you have the because it's following. Okay.
Yep. And this is kind of what I was talking about. When we talk about an API, jQuery has its own API, right? This is the way that we interact with these different jQuery functions.
So what are we using instead of jQuery?
Angular.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, ultimately we'll be using Angular. but we won't really get there until about 2 weeks in.
Is it gonna work the same way, pretty much?
No, Angular's quite different. Quite different.
Would you say it's better? Or?
Well, it's certainly more in vogue than jQuery. Because with jQuery, we're touching on individual pieces of the DOM, and we need to sort of single out different things that we're interested in. With Angular, we can create actual templating in the browser. It's going to be pretty cool.
Can we try getting the homework from the API?
Okay.
So like if you get the homeworld and it has
You wanna ramp it up. All right then. So
but when they do the call for it,
no, yeah,
you
we
have to
could
run
do that too. So let's think about this. So inside of our success handler, this is here where we have access to the homeworld, right? Or the homeworld data as it is. Okay. So let's just take that bit and then make another GET request for the homeworld. Okay. So we're appending here, and then let's say we'll do another $.get, and then it's going to be data.homeworld, right? Okay. And then I also need a success function for this, so now what's going to happen once I get this information back, right? So let's create another one. All right, so we'll say function home world handler, and that'll take in some data. For now, let's just console log it. Okay, so inside home world handler, let's try that and let's see what we get. Open that up. Cool. Okay, so here, this was our home world handler, right? It's just console logging out all the information about this character's home world. Temperate, Arctic, diameter. Wow, we got all kinds of stuff here. Films is just an empty array. It's interesting. And then look, we have another potential endpoint that we can call at that point if we want to get the residence of that home world.
Okay.
Okay.
So is the data stored like in a table inside jQuery?
You mean this data that we got back from the API? No, it's strictly available to this function and that's it. So once we run the function, that data is gone unless we save it in some other variable somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question. This data will basically be flushed by garbage collection, unless we had some other variable pointing to it at some point. All we did is we put it on the page and we're done with it. Finished. Cool. Any other questions? No?
Well, last
Last one.
This is just part of jQuery that pops up. Like is that?
Is this part of jQuery, this function right here?
Yeah, because without it, since
No,
it's
this
still
is just
in the
this is just a regular JavaScript function. So inside that JavaScript function, we are of course running a jQuery method though, the $.get.
So that click.
So jQuery and keep in mind that jQuery is built on top of JavaScript. So anything that works in JavaScript should be valid jQuery as well. Okay. But yeah, that's just a regular JavaScript function. We just happen to use some jQuery inside of it, right?
Okay.
Okay. Cool. You guys good? Ready to get to work? All right, have at it. Dang it.